All right, let's talk about a tricky situation with arrays. We have an array of integers. Now we want to pass it to a function. So I'm going to define a function called print numbers that takes an integer array. And in this function, we're going to use a range-based for loop to iterate over this array and print each number. So for number in numbers, we're going to print each number. Now we have a compilation error saying cannot build range expression with array function parameter numbers. Now I know the error is a little bit confusing, but let me explain what is happening under the hood. Earlier you saw that when we reference an array without an index, we get a hexadecimal number that represents the address of that array in memory. More accurately, that is the address of the first element in this array. So what is happening here is that our integer array is now converted to what we call an integer pointer. So this asterisk represents a pointer. Now we'll talk about pointers in detail in the next section. Now what I want you to understand here is that it doesn't really make sense to loop over an integer pointer, which is just a number. We can only loop over a list of elements, not a number, right? That is why we're getting this compilation error. But what if we use a regular for loop? Let's see what happens. So we're going to declare a loop variable called I. And while I is less than size of numbers, then we're going to do I++. And here we're going to print numbers of I. Again, we have a compilation error saying no matching function for call to size. Again, the reason we're seeing this error is because our integer array is now converted to an integer pointer. An integer pointer just holds a number, a memory address. So it doesn't make sense to pass a memory address to the size function. How can this function know how many elements we have in that array if we only give it a number, a memory address? We could have 5 or 10 elements after that address. This function has no way to know that, right? So what is the solution? The solution is that whenever we need to pass an array to a function, we should always include its size as well. So here we need to add a second parameter called size, and then use that to loop over this array. Let's make sure our implementation is correct. So over here, we're going to call print numbers and pass our array as well as its size. Take a look. So now we see all the numbers in this array.